Big shout out to EXT Radio. I think they've been a big support in my journey as well. And just a little nugget of why I decided to put on an event like this. I've been in the industry for a long period of time. As most creatives know, it's difficult to find your own journey for yourself, your own lane for yourself. And I try to support and help artists by playlisting them on my radio show or interviewing them or supporting them in those kind of ways. But I think my knowledge is probably limited. It can only take them so far. But luckily, I've met a lot of great people in my journey who have agreed to be on this panel here today. So very thankful for them, and they're going to say a few words. So one moment. Just going to hand over to the panelists, have them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about what they do, and why they decided to be on the panel. So I think we should start with Wardah. She should start.
Cheeky. Hi guys, thanks. I came here and I felt so bad, but thanks for being so warm when I came here. So my name is Wardah. I am the Senior Influencer Marketing Manager at Columbia. I lead a team of 4 people. I also help Ministry of Sound in terms of influencer marketing. We work with the likes of like Calvin Harris, Heady One, Davido, Sky Newman's one of my favourites, and I love what I do. I've been doing it for the past 10 years now. Makes me feel so fucking old. And yeah, it's been a great journey. So lovely to meet everyone. Woo. Woo.
Hi guys, my name's Chris. I'm head of artist and label services at Soho Music Group. So we help predominantly independent music artists with different marketing services. And then separately to that, I also work with artists independently with my own consultancy called The 90s to make things more palatable, breaking things down into 90-day chunks. My main motivation for being in the industry is there is so much good music out there. It's not the case of your music's not good enough. Sometimes you just need the right team and the right support around you. So with hours and hours of conversation, speaking to artists over the years, you start to see some common themes and trends. But obviously, if you're making good quality music, it's just about finding the right people to help you, whether that is as an independent or working with labels as well.
Woo! Yeah! Hi, I'm Ree, Senior Artist and Label Relations Manager at SoundCloud. History of A&R, artist development, working really closely with artists. And before I even worked in the industry, I worked, me and PJ were speaking about this earlier, with like looked after children and in like the youth sector and charity sector, because I think it's important to nurture the young and support them, having grown up with a lot of people who are in foster care. And I think it was like a perfect segue into working in music because I was helping a lot of people and I'm still helping a lot of people just in different ways, with like growing their business, their brand, like their music, and elevating on platform, off platform, just as an artist, and just whatever opportunities, create opportunities. I'm Jamaican, so I always make sure there's a space for me people them. So, so I'll always be doing that. And yeah, that's me.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Darrell. I'll be honest, I don't sound as important as you guys now, but I'll try anyway. I'm a DJ, producer, and event curator. I own a number of different events, La Fiesta, El Sueño, and I host a lot of events as well in across Europe and the UAE. Those events are La Fiesta, for example, is an event where we bring up a lot of up-and-coming DJs. Same with El Sueño as an Afro house brand, whereas La Fiesta is predominantly just a house brand as a whole. Beat Live, however, is more of a festival brand where we, it's kind of like a Live Nation, where we have different events that we curate across, again, Europe and the UAE. So, yeah, that's me.
Thank you, guys. So just to get kicked off, a lot of you have been in the industry in some capacity, maybe not the role you're in now, but definitely around the industry for a number of years, if you're old like me, decades. But what would you say is one of the biggest positive changes that you've seen in the music industry, and the counter as well, one of the most negative ones that you've seen?
I think I'll go in positive to say that, like, I feel like people have started to be comfortable and having the creative freedom to say what they want, like in terms of experience, however they're being mistreated when it comes to like their campaigns, feeling free to be able to like speak their opinions and like how they really feel. I feel like back in the day, like even for me as a black woman, Like, there was no saying how I felt in terms of campaigns or putting my opinions forward. It was always like, okay, cool, I should be lucky to even be in that position, where I feel like it's gone to a point where not everyone, but a lot of people have become really comfortable in talking about like how they feel and keeping it real about how really the music industry really is in terms of negative or positive. So I would say the positive is everyone having like a free spirit and being open in keeping it dark. No one gives a fuck now in terms of like being honest. So I would say that for me.
I'd say another positive for artists is definitely like the creative control. I think before a lot of artists were told to make music like a certain way, definitely on like most of the label side, like you had to have a label if you wanted to release music, you had to have a direction, you had to do this and that. Now the labels aren't like that. They're very much like, they're going to sign an artist, they're looking at artists for what it is that they're making and trying to understand like the community that they're trying to tap into and trying to connect with more. And there's a lot, that's why there's not like, it's not just pop now, there's a lot of subgenres, there's a lot of like blends, a lot of like just Afrofusion, this, that, like lots of sonics from like the diaspora. And I think it's so special because before it was very much like, you look on the charts maybe say 10, 15 years ago, and it's like pop, pop, rap, pop, 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 dance, pop, pop, rap. Like it was, and now it's like, I don't even know what genre that person is. Like, you're not defined by that genre anymore. It's just, that's an artist and they can actually make whatever music they want to make. And regardless if it's the exact same audience that loved track number one, track number two might have a completely different audience, and that's actually okay. So I think that's a really good positive change in the industry.
You go. No, I was going to say on the genre side, I think that's a massive point. You know, you don't have to be defined into a particular box anymore. If you want to be someone who's considered a pop artist, what does being a pop artist even mean in terms of its popular culture, popular music, what's trending at the time? So when you're talking about what the popular genres are right now, you're going to see the emergence of certain genres like Afrobeats and Amapiano and how that has that cross intersection. That's obviously been popularised by some significant artists. When you think of international collaborations even with Latin music, you know, if you're trying to be a Spanish audience related artist, let's say you take a big artist like Justin Bieber, how do you get your music into that market? You collaborate with someone that's in that genre, and then you can also look at speaking or singing in that language too, but it's not a case of, right, you're selling out or that's not authentic. If you're doing it for the right reasons and there is an audience that wants to engage with that, that for me is a positive thing. So I would say it's almost like a pro and a con in the sense of barriers to entry. There's less barriers to entry if you want to go into certain genres and certain areas of music. But at the same time, because there's lower barriers to entry, there's also the competition aspect of that in terms of how much music gets uploaded, how many people want to dabble into certain genres. So you're competing for attention span there too.
I think for me it's more of a double-edged sword, to be honest with you. And I'm going to allude back to kind of what you guys have said already, in that, yes, it's great. There's so many more doors that are open now. There's so many people that don't need to open the doors because they're already there for them to walk through, which is great. It's amazing. The negative part of that I find, being a DJ, you know, an event owner, curator, or anything else, or even producer, is that sometimes some of these people that are coming through the door are doing it for the wrong reasons. It's not always the right reason. And it's great if you love music and you enjoy what you do, fantastic. If you're not that great at it and it's not, listen, there's mentors, there's people that can help you with stuff like that. It's never an issue to get involved in something that you don't know much about. However, when it's for the wrong reason, I want someone to see me doing X, Y, and Z, or I want to earn a certain amount of money, and that's where I'm going to get to. And if I don't get that, I'm not doing it. With a lot of DJs these days, it's a case of, well, if I don't get $2.5 grand, I ain't playing. Well, hold up, you was earning 50 quid last week, so why are you now earning $2.5 grand? So it's not a case of, you know, taking that away from someone. I think that's great, and have the ambition to do that is fantastic. It really is amazing. I was there at one point. I'm not too far away from it now, to be honest. But you know, I think the double-edged sword is that, yes, it's great. Everyone, open doors. Go for it. If it's for the wrong reasons, I think sometimes it saturates the market a bit too much.
So it's got a lot of great points on that one, guys. So we've seen the rise of social media, guys, as platforms, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, how Facebook/Meta has developed. And it's been a great way for artists to connect with their fan base and build their fan base. What advice would you give artists on the most effective way to use those socials to amplify their reach, their presence, and build their audience?
For me, personally, I think just be organic for yourself. Go and do what you can do. Show everyone what your abilities are. Don't be afraid to show everyone what you're working on, and just be yourself. I think it's really easy to go in and try and be something that you're not, to try and impress a certain person, a certain crowd, a certain group of people. Just be yourself, and eventually, I think that's what people want. They want originality, don't they? They don't want someone to come and sit next to someone who's wearing the same clothes, playing the exact same music, saying the exact same things, and looking the exact same. You gotta be yourself. Gotta be organic.
I have to co-sign you, especially when I do a lot of influencer marketing as well. Like, I think a lot of people connect more about the personality, someone keeping it a buck. And I think back in the day, it was really like, there was a structure to it, whereas now there's an audience that actually want to connect with people and their personality. So I just think, like, just being yourself, being genuine online, like, you don't need to do a fucking glamorous music video. Like, what about your BTS? Like, do you have kids? Like, what's your relationship like with your kids? Like, I just think the personable content seems to be working, and I say this to artists all the time.
Yeah, I want to echo what they both said as well. I always tell artists to have fun with it. Like, I definitely support with strategy when I have meetings with them, and I come from the world where I don't love social media personally myself. So I'm just like, I would never force that on someone to do. Like, we can see when it's like, everyone here can see when it's disingenuous. They're doing TikTok dances, and you're like, your song isn't that, like, why are you doing that? Like you look through it, you can see right through it. It looks fake, it looks weird, it's off, and you can tell the artist isn't enjoying it either. So I say, whatever you are doing, like, what platform do you genuinely enjoy using? Let's focus on that. Like, how could we lean into that authentically? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the next, like, couple weeks? Like, genuinely, like, what are you doing? So you're going to be in the studio, cool. In the studio, just get a camera in the corner, record the whole time, or record bits of it. Those things you could be repurposing, because then I could understand content feeling like a chore. A lot of these artists are not content creators as well. They make music. They're musicians. They're artists. They don't come with this 5,000 like starter account on TikTok. They don't. You know what I mean? It's built with, like, intention. It's built with like genuinity. It's built. It has to be authentic. So be authentic. Repurpose what you're already doing. And when you're recording, like, your track, like, before it gets to the point where it's mastered and mixed and mastered and it's ready to be delivered to the supply chain, you did a version 1. There's an acoustic version. There's a snippet. There's something. Let's work with that. Let's see. Your fans are gonna want something like that. They're not gonna. They love the original, like, or they love the version but they like the process too. So if you are someone that's, like, also talented by, like, instrument, you can play lots of instruments. Record that process. Like, we want to hear how these things have come together. Like, that's what. And if you like Instagram, use Instagram. If you like TikTok, use TikTok. If you like Twitch, use Twitch. If you like live, use live. If you like open stage, Discord, like, I don't even know if people are using it still, Clubhouse. Like, yeah, if you like that, go for it. Like, just use what you actually are passionate about, because when you aren't, I mean, I could definitely tell, and I'm just like, some things, like, some content feels a little flat, and I'm like, they didn't want to do this. They didn't want to do that. I don't know why they did that. So I kind of prefer it when an artist either does it and does it well, because they wanted to do it, or doesn't do it at all.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the key words you said there was about being intentional. Rather than just saying, okay, this has gone viral, so how do I do this too? If you're going to be inauthentic in how you go about it, you're going to spend so much time, so many hours just working on content, and then what ends up slipping on the wayside is the actual music. And then if you're constantly chasing vanity metrics that just stat pad, great, you've got 1 million views on a song, but no one's listening to your music on Spotify. You've got less than 1,000 and your music's going to get taken down. Or SoundCloud, or other DSPs, that's not limited one, obviously. But yeah, if you're just doing it for the wrong reasons, you're just looking at okay, I'm going to get 1 million views. What does that actually do? And also, when you're talking about viral moments, are you even in a position where you can take advantage of that viral moment? Have you actually focused on the other things that are important? Have you got good visuals on your cover art? Have you actually got a press kit? And it's crazy how many artists you'll speak to that haven't even thought of that. And obviously there are teams around them that will support them. But a lot of artists, if they're doing the 9 to 5 and then they're trying to do it in the evening, they might be using AI tools. No problem with doing that if it helps, but at the same time, if you're trying to wear so many different hats, you end up spending like 90% of your time just doing business work, content work, and you're not actually doing anything in the music. And what you said as well about the different formats, I think is really important. Every opportunity is an opportunity to shoot content. I've got some friends that are here that will say this a lot of the time, like, just do it. Don't just tell me what the idea is, just do it. If someone likes it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But that's not the point. Did you like doing it? Someone will resonate, and if you start getting that feedback, you see the insights, then you've got something you can work back on and say, right, I want to do this more, I enjoy doing this more, and then you can start testing and learning. And then that's the same principle for other marketing strategies that you want to try.
It reminds me quickly of an artist that I worked with, and I'm not going to say any names, but he hated filming TikTok. Like, he was like, oh, TikTok is just for dancers, and I was like, that's fair enough. So he had a music video, so I just got my phone and I just filmed him, like, being organic. He was with his boys, he was chilling. Please tell me why that video went viral. To the point where it had, I don't want to yeah, I'm not going to say more, but what I will say is that it went viral because he was authentically himself. He didn't overthink it and think, I need to do a dance or anything like that. He was literally happy with his boys filming in the music, and he just didn't force it. And that was what went viral on TikTok. So I'm just co-signing you guys in terms of just be authentic yourself. Literally that worked, and I've seen it.
I think it is important to be authentic, but we also need to remember that there's a degree of sort of marketing and strategy into campaigns or builds or song releases, etc. Some artists have an idea of just kind of throwing things out there, creating content, whatever it may be, but do you think sometimes they lack a certain direction when it comes to strategy? How would they address something like that? Would they have to bring people in, teams in, etc., or is it something where a few of them can do it and then come up with a plan?
I think on that one, it's not just necessarily limited to music. If you think of where we are now, Soho House, and the different backgrounds that people are in, you've got content creators across every different sector, and they have all done the same thing. They've tested, they've learned, and they've worked out what is their niche. So I think you can learn from other disciplines and actually just have conversations with people that content create regularly, because sometimes that's even the most simple thing. How can I actually put content out regularly if I'm looking to promote my music? Can you do that in almost like batch load recording, or is it a case of, right, I can only put out maybe 3 posts this week, but am I at the studio, can I shoot there? And then I think there's an element of kind of upskilling. There's lots of resources now. We're in a day and age where there's so many articles, videos that teach you the basics, the fundamentals, and I think it's about being curious and then actually acting on that curiosity, because there's no best way or worst way to do something. There is just a way that you can try, and you will find what's the best way specifically for you.
I unknowingly have a friend who's good at everything, who can do everything. He's a producer, he's a DJ, he puts events on, he's an incredible human being just all around. I can't do that. So I'm not always able to go and do everything that he can do. And the majority of people can't. However, what you can do is you can learn from those people. And I think you alluded to that a little while ago, where you can take on what other people do. But in the meantime, take that on, but you can also ask for a bit of help. You don't necessarily have to do everything yourself. I mean, it's great if in the end you are able to do that. It saves money, great, it adds another feather to your cap, great, fantastic. You're then able to pass that knowledge on to other people, great. But in the meantime, don't be afraid to, ask for a bit of help. I think we're all so focused these days. I say we're all, as in, in some of the industry that I'm in, and the DJ industry, let's say, for example, we're all so focused on being the best, being perfect, being X, Y, Z. We're not all going to be that. At some point, we might. But until you get to that point, take a bit of help. Ask. It's never a problem to ask.
I was literally thinking that as well. So I recently watched the Ronaldinho documentary with my partner, and what stood out to me is that his brother's his manager, and I thought, wow, his brother's his manager. But then it made me think, how many people in music have like family members and like close friends as their managers? And it's like, I know so many artists who they get to a certain point, or they think, oh, I can't answer my emails or whatever, like I want someone to do it, like I need a manager, and it's like, they want to source someone externally, when really, you might have that friend that might have a little bit of ADHD, might be a bit neurospicy, that's super sick with emails and like super, on point. I'm neurospicy, so it's fine. So like you might have that person that's just on it when it comes to emails and just very organized and like is your best champion anyway, always comes to your shows, knows what they like, knows how to speak to people and has that relationship, and you're just overlooking them because you want a manager. There's someone right next to you that could manage you. Like they could be that person. So just
being a bit more like kind of not expecting it to necessarily look the same as someone else's, and like knowing that marketing and the team and looks different for everyone. Like even if two people did the same song, it doesn't matter, but it's not just the song, it's the person who's doing the song. So what are their differences? Why do you amplify that and for that person and not that? Like I know someone that loves reading books, yeah? So on their, I won't say the artist, but on their TikTok, they're like part of Book Talk, but then they sing the lyrics, they sing the words from the book, and like they've managed to garner an audience from that, and that works for them. But if I was to do that, I mean I can't sing so I wouldn't, but if another artist was to do that, that wouldn't work for them because they're not ingrained in that, like, do you know what I mean? So it's about the USPs and what makes that person different, but also knowing like, okay, cool, this is for me, and I don't need to look outside. I don't need, like, yeah, you might need the plan, you might need like this, but everyone's different, and kind of taking a step back and looking at what someone else is doing, but not necessarily trying to emulate it, but learn from it. Like, what did that get? So a skill I learned from doing my master's in music business management at Westminster, a very good course by the way, is to look at the result of a marketing campaign, like, and then go backwards and just see the steps, and you'll be surprised at how far back that marketing campaign actually started. You'll be, because you'll think, oh, some of these things were just accidents, or oh, they just fell into it, oh, they're at the Met Gala, oh, they're at here. No, they were all intentional bits to the marketing campaign. Even if their track is coming out in a year's time from now, they were all set. So just, yeah, looking at that.
Just on that, actually, I had a question actually about management as well, because we have seen people who have made sort of the management mistake of bringing people in who are close to them, and they may not be the best for the job, and then obviously that impacts their career. But then how do you go about bringing people in, but also having someone who kind of knows what they're doing? It's quite a thin line.
I'm not mad about people working with their family. I can't lie, like a lot of artists that I've worked with, like I can't lie, they're the most successful because they're with people that they trust. Like you were saying as well, like certain management I've seen who sign artists are only there for the clout and then drop them when like certain things happen, and you see how that goes bad. But there's certain people that they jig it out and they work really, really hard, and you know they'll do everything they can and talking, giving their last fucking pound and shit to make sure this campaign does well. And I just think that I'm not mad at it. The only thing that I would say is negative is just understanding the business side of it. Sometimes being very familiar with someone, like there's just too many business, like the roles are so blurred. So I just think just understanding like the business element of it, sometimes it's not personal, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing actually, that I think something you need to remember and always keep in mind is that yes, family's great, and the majority of the time they will go all out for you. And I've seen it in many situations, and many occasions where that's happened. However, it's gone sour because the business element of it was left under the table, and they didn't really focus on that. There was never the look of, look, this is a business. It's like any relationship, be it romantic or anything else. There's a business element to it that needs to be addressed and looked at, and not so much always focused on. It needs to be there. You need to know that it's there in the back of your mind.
What you were saying there about like the whole relationship analogy as well. When you're talking about working with a manager, if someone's actually invested for the long term, you know, and you're just going to jump straight into it at the first hurdle, you're kind of setting those expectations, you're trying to understand, is this person going to go on a journey, or they're just here for a minute, or they're going to walk out the door as soon as this isn't quite working. I think I've had experiences with an artist where they had their other half basically as their manager, and I'm trying to speak to the artist, and he's constantly speaking on behalf of myself, she should have the voice. Like, you know, can she tell me why she's making music? And that's going to detract things in the long run, because I'm sure serve the purpose for a good period of time as a manager, it's coming from a good place, but you're not letting go for what you might need to move forward to the next step. So I think actually having a clear idea of what the expectations are, right, what does like the first 30 days look like if we're going to work with each other? What does the first release plan look like if we work with each other? After 90 days, are we on the same trajectory? Are we still on the same page? Is this dynamic working? Or actually is a case of we say, look, shake hands, go other directions. If I ever see anyone that I think is worth putting in touch with, you know, I'll do that. But I think you do have to look at the long-term, short-term and medium goals. So really understanding what you actually need, but also setting those expectations, the non-negotiables. Because as well, what do you actually want or need from a manager? Do you need them to be more of a legal expert? Do you need them to be more socially media trained? Do you need them to be someone that's just a bit of a hype person for you, that just is your cheerleader when there's days where you're like, no, I'm not sure if this is working, they remind you, no, you're fucking shit hot. Keep at it, it will come. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah. There's a lot to think about there. I'm just kind of
But and literally on what Chris said as well, just to like close that bit, even if you're not related to someone, like lots of managers have these trial periods. Like it's not, this is just across the board in the industry. Like a lot of people have, 3 months, a 3-month trial. They do a trial for management to see how it goes, and that's for both sides. So don't be thinking like, oh, they're doing me a solid, so I need to stay with them. It's like, no, you're also the client. Like, so just understanding and having those boundaries very like clear as well. Like this, we're friends, but when we're talking about business, we're business partners. Like we're talking about business. It's very different. So yeah, and to mention as well, also having that person could just be your A&R. So that's the person you go to the studio with because they just have a great ear and know exactly who you should be working with, by just knowing who they are. So it is definitely about having discernment as well. So yeah, that's a big part of it too.
So we've seen a little bit of a switch up when it comes to sort of artist rollout now. Where we've got these kind of live DJ sets with DJ AG, Mac 10, guest appearances on podcasts, on streaming platforms as well. Your Twitch, your Kick, etc. What do you think the catalyst was for that kind of new direction of including that into the artist rollout?
Traditional marketing is like, it's not working anymore, let's be honest. I think people are like, a lot of these artists want to tap into a different kind of audience now, and they know they can tap into it where it comes to Twitch or DJ, AG, etc. So I think it's just like, I think social media is such a big thing right now. It's got to a point where back in the day, the traditional stuff just doesn't work anymore. It's tapping into other people's audiences, and I think that's probably why they do it.
Yeah, I agree, but I think also the outlets as well for some DJs like Mac 10. Used to be on the radio together years ago. It was Pirate Radio. That was there. It was your weekly. Every week you'd go there, you'd pay your subs, and you'd be broadcasting to, people texting the phones, and you'd be reading out their last names or the last 3 numbers. It was an outlet. A lot of those outlets have gone. We still have, some of them have switched over now. Rinse FM was a pirate radio station. Huge. There's many others as well. Centreforce, for example, another one. And they were outlets for people. I think this is just something else that others can do that, yes, it's more of a promotion for yourself as a DJ or an artist. You can go and quite easily now show your skills to the world, because it's the world, right? It's World Wide Web, www. Anyone can see it, right? So you're able to do that. But it is also for the love of the music and what they're doing. It's an outlet for them to continue to keep showing new music, their new music, other people's new music, DJ skills, MCing, etc. I think it's just, it's another outlet, but I think there's many avenues to it.
I think it's beautiful that there's like different outlets and different ways in which an artist can show who they are. Because before you just be listening to the music, you might hear an interview every now and again by a major news outlet, and that was kind of it. You didn't really know who the artist really was to their core unless they had a documentary or unless there was a reason as to why they're answering that level kind of questions, those deep questions. So now we can see more of their life. We can see more things. We're like, why was you in Greece? And they'll tell you because they're on 90s baby show. And there's just loads of different ways to get to know the artist, and that connection through the social connection. I really think the pandemic definitely did a number on all of us. But anyway, it's another day. That connection is necessary, and you can't just do that in the traditional forms of marketing how it was before. So with the podcasting, it's like another layer to that artist and another way to connect to their music, connect to their story, and then you stay a fan, and you probably are a deeper fan, more of a super fan to that person because you know them that bit more outside of the music, which was the only thing that was available before.
Yeah, I think as well, when you're talking about traditional PR and press in terms of who curates the music you're going to hear, obviously with social media, it's now having DJs that can curate their set lists, and they've got their angle that they're only going to play underground artists, for example, or you've got the various people that one day wake up and say, I'm going to post music that you might not have heard, or you've definitely heard but you've completely forgotten about, and that almost reintroduces people to their music. And if that's at the right time when a new release is coming, then that's a really powerful mechanism. I think as well you've got these other kind of platforms where I think it's called the stargazing show, where there's a tent set up and the interviewer basically lies down, listens to music, a star display up there, and again it just gives it a different format, different attention span for you to kind of engage with, where they've got something to say here. It's not just about the music, but it's actually the depth of them as an artist or their creative process. I think in terms of curation, anyone can be a curator in this day and age, and I think that's a really powerful thing. you don't have to like everything, but if you've got an open mind to discover music, I think generally people do have that. So I think, again, it comes back to like the reduced barriers, but with the DJ AG set that he's doing, it's great because it's so consistent, and there's another artist like, oh, I've heard them, or do I recognise them? And then you kind of go and do that search, and then you're encouraged to find out more information about them. Oh, I then look at Dice FM, for example, and I can see that they're in my area because it's synced with my Spotify. So the actual full discovery from start to end in terms of possible fan conversion is particularly high. And I think that's just because the curation levels that people have and the different formats for that are like nothing we've had previously. It's not dominated or controlled by traditional media.
What I love about the DJ AG thing is that now even Americans are coming over and purposely going to him because they know he's like plugged into the whole scene, which is his starting journey took such a long time to get to that stage. I mean, he had Neo and the Box Park the other day. It's just crazy. It's really encouraging. And I think because I look after a lot of the UK music scene, well, not predominantly obviously, but yeah. So with that, we've definitely seen a big growth over the last couple of years. I mean, we had a conversation the other day with Wireless. So Wireless had Kanye West, or Ye as he's known, as the headliner, and then he was cancelled, and then the whole festival was cancelled. And there was this argument about why did the festival have to be cancelled? There's enough talent in the UK and surrounding areas to fill that whole festival. So what are your thoughts on that kind of situation?
Do you know, I'm not going to say too much because I had a lot to say, but what I will say is that the UK music industry has gotten so big to the point where international artists are like briefing them and like paying for them to go abroad. Like they're that big that we're worldwide right now. So I'm like, why the fuck would you cancel Wireless because of one person? But also I understand that there's just this whole thing, which I'm still trying to understand, how like the US artists just have this whole, like, there's just a weird thing where UK look at US artists a particular way, almost like they're just like fucking God's grace and shit. But it's just like, do you know what I mean? But in this, like right now, it's gotten to a point where the UK artists are doing so fucking well. We can see it. Fucking Zara Larson was talking about Jay Huss the other day. So that's how much the UK artists that we have are doing so good globally, not just UK. So for me, I don't understand it.
I mean, you think, again, if you go on to the topic like curation, having different criteria for different festivals, saying that of the festivals that we're having, at least X% of artists that can be on that festival lineup are UK-based, prioritising the opportunities. You know, I remember, I don't think it's running anymore, like Lovebox Festival, and that was brilliant in terms of it had a nice balance in terms of UK, international, US artists, like big names like Childish Gambino, and then you'd have people like, I think Tyler Creator was there like 1 year, Kate Renata playing in a smaller tent, but at the same time it felt actually international. It didn't feel like it was overly dominated. I think with the festival space as well, there's a lot of these festivals now where it's almost like too much choice. You know, right, do you want to go to this 1 day festival, this 2 day festival, and then again you're trying to look at which lineups represent what you want. So people go for one act, and obviously if it is quite a US led, that's where all the priority is going to go to and shift. So I do think more can be done in terms of giving opportunities to UK-based artists, particularly if you're hosting something in South London. Why are you not trying to have like a minimum percentage of artists from that area and kind of having a stage dedicated to them, or trying to put someone higher up in that lineup on the agenda?
I agree, totally. But I think one of the things is, from someone who curates and does events myself, the support sometimes for the UK artists isn't as it should be. And I don't just mean from inside the industry, I mean from outside the industry. So the first name that you mentioned from AG, and I've watched loads of AG stuff, was Neo. But this American artist, but prior to that, we had many others, even old garage artists that have been around for years. But we automatically go to these big name superstars because they are big superstars. And they do sell out events, and they do sell out parties, be it large or small, no matter what the capacity of the venue is. They will do that. So as an event owner, as a venue owner, as a festival owner, you're automatically thinking, right, I'm under it here. I'm under a lot of pressure here. This is gone. So, and again, it's financial, isn't it? It's not just about the artist. I mean, I don't put anything on anything anywhere as big as Wireless. My largest festival I've done is 8,000 people. There's not an American artist on there. There's no real big name artists. There are more local people, more local DJs and artists, but that sells out because that small group, that minority group of people that are coming to see those people believe in that and they believe in them. Whereas the wider audience don't always believe in what we have here in the UK, unfortunately.
And I think another point as well that hasn't been raised again is contracts. When things like these events happen, there's contracts for all of these artists, and there's terms, very, very deep terms, with, especially if you're going to have someone like Kanye West. Like, if there's, say for example, I don't know what his fee is, but say for example his fee was 5 million to perform at Wireless. I don't know, this is just me picking whatever number. His visa being denied, there could be a term in that contract means regardless, a kill fee, he has to get paid half that. So that 2.5 million is now not with Wireless. That's still with Kanye, even if he's not performing. So then they are out that money if he's not performing. So what money can they then use to replace, so without being insulting to some of these artists as well, because they deserve to be paid adequately, you know what I mean? They deserve appropriate remuneration for their input in the festival. But if you haven't got the money to pay them, because everyone's bought their ticket, like, why was Wireless not sold out? Yeah, it was like completely sold out. So everyone's bought their ticket, you've got all the money, you spent all the money, and then they're like, oh, we haven't got a headliner. Yeah, we got these bunch of London guys that we could use, but we only can pay them a $5. That's insulting. They're not. I don't want them to take that. I don't want to cancel the festival. But if that's the terms, because they probably thought it was like, of course he's going to get his visa. They agreed that. Do you know what I mean? They agreed that. So that's now. Why they want to deal with that? You know what I'm saying? That's their cross to bear. So yeah.
I'm trying to understand what's in this clause then, because that's what I'm trying to understand. I wish we understood, like, if there is a clause, what the percentage is and stuff, because I know there's more to it.
I feel like it was more based contractually than it being like because it just didn't make sense to cancel the whole festival with so many people already confirmed. So I believe it was. I don't know anyone who's working at Wireless, but yeah, I would say it's probably that.
Whoever does last know.
Well, talking about money and cash and fees, being an artist, as we know, is quite a cash-intensive business. Whether that's music studio sessions or studio sessions, anything like that. And we see some examples of some artists, mostly rappers, having some disposable income from wherever to be able to fund this kind of stuff. So for the everyday artist who isn't Fredo, for use of better words, how do they compete with something like that?
I think it's got like we've been speaking about today, social media is such a big thing. So like a lot of the people that I talk to, especially like working labels, they always talk about like the work ethic. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, what's your work ethic like? How are you trying to grow your audience? Because I've noticed that when I'm in these meetings, they're always talking about what's the audience saying. When we're doing CRM, how many people's in there, or like how many people are in that kind of profile, etc. Like, I just think that like as long as you're trying to grow your audience, whether it's meeting other creators, whether it's going on Twitch, whether it's doing a competition, etc. I just personally think that's what labels are more interested in. Obviously, the music is super important. Don't get it twisted, I get that. But I just think because of social media, it's really changed in terms of how important audience is. As long as you're focusing on that and being more organic and your work ethic is on point, I just think that you should be focusing more on that personally.
I think as well, if you look at it as it's a music business, anyone that starts a business, you're a startup. And how many startups succeed in the first year, 2 years? How many startups just get capital just falling out the sky from an angel investor to actually grow? There is a period where you are going to have to put in some of your work, and a lot of work. You're going to have to put in the extra hours. You're going to have to find ways to reinvest your time, energy, and actual, if it's a side job or a full-time job, until you get to a position where you can say, all right, how can I make sure that more money's coming in? I think there's other ways in terms of that monetization where I think because an artist is new, maybe they don't think, oh, I'm actually able to do that yet. But what's to stop you getting a small batch of vinyls, saving up, printing them off, selling them at markup? Okay, I've seen there's a return on investment there. I put that back into the business. I think the other day there was an event and I met this artist and she had this little kind of keyring, and it was a tiny, tiny little version of her CD with the cover art. You could even open it up. And then when you open it up, it had a little kind of booklet pamphlet. And when you actually touched that CD, that keyring, it had like an NFC code in there, so that it took you straight to a way to find her music. And then all of a sudden, she's now got you as a subscriber. And then you've got a place where you can say, oh, look at my other merchandise. And I thought that was so simple. And is that really that expensive if you're actually working back from a certain period of time? If you know that you've got an idea and you know when the release is going to be. So I think there's an element of looking at it in the bigger picture and over a period of time, and actually being very real with yourself. Like, is it that I don't have money or capital to invest, or is it I'm actually choosing other ways to spend? You know, you see artists that have said, I didn't go out on a night out for like 2 years because I was so locked in. If you're really serious about it, there's always going to be someone working harder, working smarter, but you know, there's also always excuses.
Just to add to that really quickly, there is nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5. Like, I just think that we need to have this discussion right now. Like, at the end of the day, like, not everyone has the luxury of certain people. You have Nepo babies, people are signed by labels that have distribution companies, are getting money from that. Like, there's nothing wrong with having 9 to 5 and saving and doing music. You don't need to do one and all until your situation of that is better. And I just feel like I just have to keep it up and just say that, because there's this whole theory of if you have a 9 to 5, like, what is that? There's just this weird negative energy when it comes to that. Make your money, save up and do what you've got to do. And then, obviously, if you're signed to a label, go on, like, leave your job and do what you got to do. But like, not everyone's like situation is as like ABC as what you see. And also, loads of people love to showcase the glamorous side as well when they get signed, and when they're getting these monies and stuff like that. They're not showing the fact that fucking they can't pay their rent or they're missing their bills and stuff like that. Like, they're not showcasing that. So I just think, like, don't watch social media. Focus on how you can make money before hopefully you guys get signed if you're artists. But if not, there'll be another way.
And on that, actually, yeah, so Georgia Smith celebrated 10 years of Blue Lights in January. She uploaded it to SoundCloud January 16th, 2016. And look at that. Look at what happened to her from doing that. Like, she was working in Starbucks. I don't know if it was 9 to 5, I'm not sure if she did late or early, but she basically had a 9 to 5 at Starbucks and uploaded it. She uploaded a demo. That was a demo. I don't think the sample was cleared when she uploaded it. Absolutely not, it wasn't. Like, sample weren't cleared when she uploaded it, everything. And look at what her career became. She even, for the 10-year anniversary, she released snippets of the 3 tracks she also recorded around the same time. She had no idea that she was going to blow up. She was just doing her thing, trying to finance her music with whatever money that she was able to make and had as disposable income, and just like, literally $1 and a dream. And that's what happened. Jazzy as well. Jazzy's the world's most streamed electronic female artist, like the world's global. She's from Dublin, yeah, and she's the world's most streamed female DJ. She was working at Tesco. When she's doing sets late night, she's got a shift 6 a.m. in the morning. She put in the graft, and she still took the time to make sure she was uploading and still trying her best where she could to connect with an audience, and it paid off. These are not overnight successes. This took time, and I don't feel like people understand like the 10,000 hours rule is real. And yeah, so do that 9 to 5. Listen, I was doing 9 to 5 when I was doing internships. I had a 9 to 5. I was like, I'm late, I'm sick. Yeah, and I was going to an internship just to be in music. Like, this artist side and exec side, it happens. Like, you have to put in the work and really grow.
Yeah, I think sorry, so wasn't it even like Bad Bunny was like working in a grocery store, and you see that picture floating around, and then obviously you're comparing that with the Super Bowl. That's a perfect example, and he's probably like the biggest streaming artist over the last 2 years. But sorry.
No, that's right. I think it's mentality as well. A lot of people. Some people don't have the right mentality. It's more about, okay, you mentioned it before. You've got to have short, long, and medium-term goals. And some of these people aren't even looking for short and medium. What they're doing is they're going straight to the end, and they're going, right, I want that and I want it now. It doesn't always work like that. I think I can hark back to when I'm a little bit older now, but when I was younger, I was busting to get on the radio. I wanted to be on Rinse FM. This is when it was pirate days. I wanted to be on Rinse FM more than anything. I stopped playing football because of it. That was it for me. I would get a bus from where I went to school in Poplar, save my dinner money all week, get on a bus, a D6 to Roman Road, and I would go to Wimbledon Division, and I would spend that money that I had. We didn't have much anyway as when I was a kid, but I'd spend that money on a record or a couple of records because it was that important to me. And I'd done that, and I was getting some of the latest records. I was getting stuff that they pull from under the counter because you get to know them in the record shops. There it was. Go on, Darrell, have that one. That's good for you. Before you know it, I'm on the radio. I'm playing. I've moved on. I'm starting to do more. And with that, I was doing bookings. My first ever booking was in a pub with about 4 people and a dog. But I didn't care. I was playing music. I took my own decks there that were these belt-driven sound lab decks that cost me hardly anything, but it was all I had, and I didn't care. I was playing music. It was a drive and ambition to do what I wanted to do and keep enjoying that. That allowed me to get to the position that I'm in now, where I'm booking, I'm DJing with big major artists, but I'm also booking a lot of them, putting on these events. And look, most of the time I sit behind the scenes. I don't really do much, but if I didn't do what I've done then, there's no way that I'd even have the mentality that I've got now to go and do what I'm doing or take the risks to do what I'm doing now. So I think it's mentality for a lot of people too, and it's because of social media and because of the way that the world is now as a whole, it's a get-rich-quick scheme for everyone, and that doesn't always work.
And just to add as well, on SoundCloud we have like fan-powered royalties, and we have things where you can add tips and stuff. There's other platforms like Patreon where you can subscribe and pay these people, so they may not have Fredo money, but there's money, and you'll be so surprised when you turn these things on who's donating, who's wants to support these artists. Because with our fan-powered royalties, you literally, as soon as the track is turned on, you are getting more and more money from the streaming on our platform. There's 100% royalties on SoundCloud. So just be looking at the different platforms and what's out there, what's available. Turn on the support tabs. Turn on put a donation link or support my career. Listen, I've seen, this is not necessarily music related, but there's a bookshop in Brighton, a black-owned bookshop in Brighton, and she literally did a video just saying my bookshop's facing closure. Can you help me? She needed to sell 1,000 books. She surpassed that by 4 times. It can continue for however long. Actually, maybe just say if you mess with this, pay Bandcamp, all of this, Beatport, whatever. You can pay. You can actually. There's loads of platforms where if you say it, you get what you ask for. If you ain't asking, then what would you get?
And just on that as well, guys, there's a little card on the seat from SoundCloud, which gives you a month's free for Artist Pro. So go for it.
Make sure you turn on monetization.
There we go. Just on that, we know being a creative, like we said about, it's a bit of a graft, so to speak. It is tough, and understandably, it can take a toll on people's mental health. And do you think there's enough support systems in place for situations like that when people have ongoing issues in the industry?
I feel like personally in music there is, they started doing companies have started investing in organisations who are helping people in music and who are helping artists and people that work behind the scenes. So I think looking at back in the day, we never had that. Let's just keep it apart. We did not have that. Whereas now they're starting to promote it more, where they understand how difficult and how intense the music industry can be, but there's organisations there who are specific, to focus on making sure your mental health is okay. So I'm not saying it's perfect, it never is, but I'm just saying it's much better than what it was before.
Yeah, I think also, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind using his name if he ever saw this, but you mentioned Mac 10 earlier. For those that know Mac 10, he went through a lot of issues. He had a lot of stuff that went on, be it through drugs, through mental health issues and whatnot. And again, what's helped him and what's done the best for him is the support that he's got from everyone else, of course. But that support came from when he started doing these lives. These lives weren't what he's doing now with all these other artists coming with him. That was what it would be like ground level. He'd be out on his own. Then he's getting a sponsor from Pioneer, and he's now got the wireless Pioneer that he's doing everything with. And, he's doing Mac 10 and friends at Ministry of Sound. And the support can come from a much wider audience from people that you don't even know, people you've never seen before. But because you're so focused and busy on sharing your music, and again, I keep harping back to the music, is that if you keep that love for it and you keep doing what you do, and that's your release, you'll find that other people buy into that as well. And that support that you need will come tenfold.
Yeah, I remember there's one of the first artists that I worked with individually. He's called Seawell, Yorkshire-based rapper, and he had lost quite a few friends, maybe 2 or 3 friends, to suicide. And obviously, you've got your various agencies or support groups like Andy's Man's Club, where he went there and got the support. And what he ended up doing was actually using his music as catharsis, as therapy. And that actually ended up being his wife and making music. For a while, he was making freestyles and telling a story about depression and losing someone. But then what he found was he started to get comments from other people because they were connecting and relating to it. And then I remember it's one of the most powerful things I've heard someone say, saying this is the reason why I won't stop making music, because if even one person says to me that I've not taken an action that could have been very severe, I could have gone down a very dark path, but just knowing there's someone out there that's confident enough to open up, that could be the difference for them going to actually talk. For me, that shows just how powerful music can be. But obviously, it's easy to say, yes, you can talk, you can open up, but when you're in those kind of cycles, it's not that simple. So I think there are support systems out there, but it's just not as black and white as that sometimes. But music can definitely be a big vehicle to give people that support.
There's like companies like help musicians that helped a lot of people who went under a lot of like financial pressure during the pandemic. They also do like therapy, financial support. They do offer grants and stuff. So there are things out there, but you will have to look for it. An artist I worked closely with a few years back, Shay Lingo, he lost his grandparent and had an eating disorder, and he speaks quite open. Well, he didn't speak openly about it at all. He wrote a song about it, and then that was like, I think when he was at a point where he could share what he'd experienced, and that was so helpful for them. Kat Burns lost a grandparent as well, and she literally was recently seen like crying on stage because that song was so raw for her, but the amount of people who expressed how healing that was for them and how amazing that was for them to, you know, not only share that with her, but also for that song to touch them in that way, like that's also another like catharsis again as well for them too.
I think mental health in the industry and in general is a big topic, and it's something I'm quite passionate about. I'm not going to speak on it now though. So alongside of course content creators and creators in general, we do see a lot of brands, companies working a lot more with artists. We see a lot of it with UK music artists as well. How do you say artists would best present themselves to get those brand deals or build those kind of relationships? I think you mentioned Shay Lingo there. I think he did something with Timberland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how does that? How can they work and make that happen for themselves?
About Shay Lingo as well. It's like a lot of brands want to kind of tap into people's stories, and like in real life, like being authentic is what these brands have started to tap into, whether it's creators or artists. That's what I've started to see, and I get it. Like a lot of people just want to tap into cultural moments and what they can relate to, rather than not say anything else. I don't want to say a specific person and get myself in trouble, but I'm just saying a lot of people are kind of more tapped into like real life situations rather than just a fucking celebrity or whatever.
With Shay Lingo, I think it's natural for them because sometimes these artists are approached by these brands. It's not a thing where they're like, you know what, I like Timberland, so let me like. It's not as simple as that. Because sometimes they're like, who are you? Like, why are you? We don't see any synergy. Like, why would we do that with you? Sky Newman, a Columbia artist. Not going to mention any brand that she may be affiliated with. Yes, so I won't mention any brand, but her story is so compelling. So it just makes sense for certain brands who want to convey that same message to align with her. So it's not just the artist wanting the brand deal, but it's the brand wanting that story to be told, or that them being able to connect to an audience that artist has. So it's like, who are you inspiring? Who do you speak for? Like, what audience have you captivated? Like, why are they connected to you? Because then they want to be connected to that audience in like the same way. So I think it's kind of like, it's two ways. It definitely works two ways.
I think it's also the popularity, obviously, of the artist, of the person, whoever it may be. Like Sky, for example, my daughter loves Sky. My daughter's 14. You know, for her, it's like, I want to go and see her when she's live and whatnot. And, you know, the audience that she captures, you know, surely there's going to be a brand out there that's going to be like, right, well, she's got this amount of followers. Again, going back to that, she's done a concert that sold out this amount. Okay, let's put her in our trainers, or let's put her in our cap, or it's the same as footballers. You've got a footballer sponsored by Nike and the boots. They're running around on the pitch. Then they want to, they've got kit sponsors as a football team. You know, there's a company called Leos, who are a British building refurbishment company, who are also in Dubai, the UAE. They've got a sponsor, I think it's Bournemouth, isn't it, on the Armour book. There's no cohesion there. There's no correlation, but it's a Premier League football team. Stick that on there. People are going to see it. We're going to sell some more copies. Sometimes it isn't always about the cohesion and if it works. Sometimes it's about, that looks good, we can get some money off of that, or we can make some sales from that.
I kind of rate artists that say no to like the money though. Like I proper respect artists, and I've seen it where they're given a shit ton of money and they say no because I never wear that brand. Why would I sell to an audience when I never wear that brand?
Yeah, I agree. I can't remember who it was. I was actually reading it today, and I wish I remembered who it was, because you go and look at it. There's a footballer who's outright disagreed with anyone that's wanted to sponsor him football-wise. The only reason he's done that is because, one, the money he doesn't care about. Two, if the boots don't match the rest of the kit, he won't wear them. And it's like, that's his take on it. I don't care about sponsorship. I don't want it. Thank you, but no thank you. They don't match my kit. It's causes for causes, isn't it? It's whatever you really want to do.
I think as well with brands and partnerships, you've got to think as well like what aligns with your values. I think it was probably like 2020, 2019. Remember Loyal Karma did a big campaign with Timberland called Nature Needs Heroes, and that was all about putting green spaces back into London. It was very sustainability driven, because that's what Timberland's collection at the time was. You see him living and breathing those values at concerts in terms of plastic cups. They're not going to be there, and he's actually helping clean up after the gigs, making sure that everything's going into recycling. So I think there's an element of living and breathing your brand too. I also think there have been some clever ways that people have done that just with a single song. And the one that comes to mind for me, which is a bit obscure, would be like Thiago Silva. Because if you think you're using a reference of a footballer and who the brands are connected to that footballer, I think at the time he would have been at PSG, and they've got their relationship with Air Jordan and their other brand partners. So that's opening up a whole other lane, as well as the direct audience from the song itself, and the popularity obviously that had was obviously incredible. And obviously you then had that cultural moment when that kid jumped on stage and started rapping it with him. I think it was a Glastonbury or whatever.
I just want to go back slightly to where we were speaking about SoundCloud actually, and about their fan-powered model, and how a lot of the royalties, a lot of the money just goes directly to the artists. But why do you think there's such a reluctance on other streaming platforms, your Spotify, Amazon Music, to follow a similar, or at least a fairer model like SoundCloud?
Well, for us, I would say for SoundCloud, from the beginning, it's always been like artists first, community first as well. So it just made sense for us to do that. Like we've had from the SoundCloud rapper errors and everything. Like there's still loads of scenes that are popping up, thriving on SoundCloud. Do take note of our music intelligence report, for 2026 that came out in March. It just makes sense. Without the artists, there would be no platform. So why would we not make sure that the artists can actually sustain their business by doing fan-powered royalties? Let the audience dictate how much they're getting paid. Like this is what it means. The more you stream, the more they get paid, and it's not 0.00. It's from straight as soon as you press play. That's what counts as a stream on there as well. So it's really making sure that the artist is looked after, and that they are in charge of their business, and giving them that power back.
For me, it's a bit like SoundCloud is, it shares music for the people, whereas some of the other streaming platforms sells music to the people. Very different. I think that SoundCloud, you mentioned it, is very much like a community. It's always been like that. From people putting up their own mixes to unreleased songs they can do. Some people, demos. Some people will even do edits of songs that there's no way in the world they're allowed to do. There's no clearance, but they can put it on their locket and send it to certain artists, because a lot of the big artists now don't even want you to inbox them with loads of music. They don't want it. What they want is a SoundCloud link with a playlist on it that they can listen to and download if they want. So I think SoundCloud is more. I'm not blowing smoke here. I just think it's more of a platform for the artist. It really does encompass what the artist is about.
Yeah, today as well, most artists I'm requesting to send me a SoundCloud. It's just so much more convenient, and obviously then I don't have to see the polished versions. Show me your demo, show me what you're working on. If I see something, that's a rough draft. This is good, why have you not finished that? Explain. So you get an idea of their process as well. You can see how many things aren't quite finished, or something that's been sitting there on the shelf for a later date. But I think as well, when we're saying about being fan-powered, is also really powerful in terms of where you've got playlists on other platforms that are biased, if we're being real about it, algorithms favour certain types of artists. The playlists I've seen, like the buzzing playlists, I think on SoundCloud, where that's based on engagement and people actually supporting the artist. So they're almost ambassadors of the artist to say you should listen to them. And it can be with just a mix, it can just be with a demo. That's really exciting to me. And I do think people do sleep on a lot of platforms. I would say a lot of artists are focused on Spotify just because they are the biggest. They feel they were the first to really kind of market, I guess, in that typical context of the streaming platform today.
it also goes back a little bit to the question a little while ago about being able to monetize certain things and being able to earn money, and how do these artists start to make money to push themselves forward, to give them that next step, that next platform. And obviously SoundCloud does that, whereas, you know, like you mentioned the 0.003, you're not earning no money on that. You have to do, I think on that, it's like 25 to 30,000 streams to get 100 quid. I mean, what does that do? By the time you produce your music, you've gone to someone to get it mastered, to get it mixed down and mastered and everything else, and you pay your train fare or your bus fare there and come back. You're still minus. So I think what SoundCloud does as well, it does give you the opportunity for those up and coming artists, as well as bigger artists, because it's not just up and coming artists on SoundCloud, you've got everyone on there. It also gives you the opportunity to, okay, this is another way that I can earn a bit of money, and I can go and pay for the studio or the next thing that I need.
I feel like the dance DJs are the ones who are like, they're utilising SoundCloud to a T. One artist, we do Silver Bumper, and like and Crystal, and their fucking community on SoundCloud is absolutely crazy. To a point where before they release music, like they wait to see what the audience are gonna say, and then they release music, and you just see like such like the way everyone like communicating, they get gassed about it. For me, like I don't feel like we use SoundCloud enough in terms of other genres, but I think dance music and dance DJs are the ones who utilise it the most at the moment.
And it being like a hybrid platform, like a DSP and a social platform, I think is great as well, because whilst you're listening, like on what platform, I'm not gonna throw any DSP under the bus when I'm saying this, by the way. I'm literally just asking the question, the truth, innit? So like, what other DSP can you be listening to and like listening to a track and still be like commenting like, nah, this bit's fire. So then, do you know what I'm saying? So then you go to like, you look at the web form on any track on SoundCloud, and you can see like people's comments, like what they're thinking, what they're feeling. You can respond back to them. Someone's like, no, do you know what? No way. When they said this, you can connect with that person that's written a comment, like, oh, my nan loves this bit. Like, oh, big up nan to invite her to the show. Like, you can have that extra connection. Do you know what I'm saying? And not only are you like empowering a fan, the fan's empowering you, because it's the two-way street. So the engagement and that connection is just, you're not finding that anywhere else.
I feel like the only time you get that is YouTube Premiere. You know when you get a YouTube Premiere, like go YouTube Premiere, all the comments like they're like that's the only fucking time you get that. If you think about it,
I think just to go back ever so slightly, when we talk about a little bit about obviously legacy media in a way. Do you think sort of DJs, radio playlists is still useful in your overall artist strategy? I think it's probably
100%, without a shadow of a doubt, always will be. Whether it's a mainstream commercial radio station or the more underground like the EXTs and the Centerforce and whatnot, I think it's hugely important. It still builds community, and I think that's really important in the scene. It's very similar to the comments, you know. Again, you're on the radio, someone's sending you a message in, and you're like, oh, I feel good here. This is great. Exactly, it's exactly what you want. It's when we did lockdown. I mean, I was doing live streams. I think one morning I've done something completely stupid, and I was on till like from midnight till 8 o'clock in the morning, but because everyone was still engaging, it was great, and you get a good feeling from it. And so, for me, I think it's hugely important, massively important.
Sorry, the time actually, we're just chatting here. So it's a couple of key questions really for me. There's the report that came out about how black music accounts for 80% of UK recorded music revenue, which is 24.5 million out of 30 million. Billion, thank you, we just almost there. But 22% of the senior roles in sort of UK music industry aren't held by people, you know, black or minority backgrounds. How do we sort of increase that number?
I'm looking at John because we used to work together.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I think about where I work now, I'm probably the only black senior person in Colombia, which is quite crazy if you think about it. So I think stuff like that motivates me in wanting to hire more. I'm not saying that like I'm not going to be open to other races. Of course I am. Like talent, but I just think I'm just more aware in making sure that black people and black women especially, like if there's a job that I think is perfect for someone, I'm going to look for the black woman that wants. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to be more open and kind of just putting that, like shedding that light to a lot of people. Like I'm always working with black companies. Like I'm always down to hire black women especially. Like I just think because I'm senior now, let me do something to help other black people, because I know that I didn't have that growing up. But yeah, that's my opinion.
There's a few people in the audience that I look up to. There's Chloe here. Coming up here, I was fortunate in, I guess I
about where I might land or what I want the wider picture to look. So I kind of looked at any black face, male or female, to see just who was around and made sure I was connected with them, asked them about their journey. They would share like their mistakes along the way and things that they'd encountered, and I kind of made that mental notes going like along the way as well. And okay, cool, they made that mistake, that means I'm not gonna make that mistake or whatever. And it really helped my journey, and I made sure I paid it forward as well. So anytime I have an opportunity to empower another black woman, black person, another person of colour, I'm always doing it. A good friend of mine and also a colleague as well, Bean Mystery, she's done South Asian women in music, like and created this community to highlight all of the people that are just marginalised and working in the industry, but just behind the scenes and not, and just otherwise ignored, really, to give them a platform to shine, to let them like a space for connection. So I kind of do those things. To my detriment, I have spent hours, like I can't tell you how like thousands of hours since starting at whatever point, because I've never felt it was like I'm too junior for something, just to connect with people and to share my story and ask them about their story, connect with them. And it's beneficial on both sides. Like I'm happy to see that I've been able to help them understand what this crazy industry is really like, because I think it's good to know what you're stepping into. You don't want to step into a cave and you don't know where it's headed. But yeah, so paying it forward, giving the time to my detriment, as I said, has been the way that I've combated the inadequacies and maybe the lack of representation in the industry, no matter whatever head company I lead, whenever I retire, I'll probably still be doing it. Like, it's important for me, and I think as a black woman, it's necessary to always hold that space and to leave the door open, help another, even if they don't smile at me. I'll just be like, you know what, I get it, sis, I get it. Could be just that time of the month, I get it. It's hard sometimes being a black woman. So I just look past that because I just know how real that can be and how that experience has impacted my journey. But also I'm like, you know what, it's impacting my journey, but it's okay. It might have taken me longer than someone else if I was a different race, if I was a different gender, if I was a different age. But that's my journey. I'm gonna help them. I'm not gonna look at what I might not have had or how little I had of that. I'm gonna help them where I can.
I think also like connecting with your black mentors, going back to what you said, I think I've been fortunate to go to people that are experienced and they are successful and they are black women. I go to them for advice as well. So connected to more like your black peers and stuff. But most importantly, I think my journey is different to yours, because I can't lie, like growing up in the music industry, it was never like, there was one label I worked at, not the current label I'm working at, FYI, and there was a black woman. She was very, very head in that label, and a lot of black women that worked there had the most terrible experience because of this black woman. She, on social media, is very known for empowering black people, empowering black women, etc. But when you work with her in a record label, it's so different. Like, it's just known. Again, we don't say any names. So I think because I went through that and like meeting her and like obviously my fucking dreams of her being this amazing personal crush, I think it's taught me now that I'm senior to make sure that anyone younger than me, any black woman or people of colour, like I make sure I'm just not that person. I make sure I'm there for them and that they're comfortable in coming with me, because I never want to be that person that feels uncomfortable in going to someone because I'm standoffish or I'm not open to kind of supporting black women or taking the time to even sit them down. We're all busy at the end of the time. Like, we're all busy. I'm busy, but I still make the time. So yeah, my experience is very. It's taught me to be better.
I just trained myself to just forget them.
She's better than me. She's trained herself, and I'm just like, fuck everyone.
Just we're going to open up to questions shortly, guys, as well. So start having a little think now. So we are obviously starting to see a big surge of AI in our day-to-day, but how do you think it's going to affect the music industry? Is there a lot of positives which you guys are applying to maybe your campaigns or working with artists that you'd recommend to others?
One positive I'll say is the tools, I think there's a positive element where we'll have tools that can help us in terms of campaigns that I'm doing, especially influencer marketing, finding creators and stuff like that. It's saving me a lot of time when it comes to seeding and clipping and cutting and stuff like that. However, negative-wise, I guess the authenticity, you know what I'm trying to say, in an artist, like, is that person like a real person? Like, yeah, I think there's a negative and there's a positive at the end of the day, personally.
I was just going to say, I think AI is what you make of it at the end of the day. I think we've seen a lot of the quotes floating around where we like, AI is coming for your job. No, it's not. It's people that know how to use AI is going to come for your job. I think you just have to an extent, accept that it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And the AI models that are out there are getting very much more sophisticated, but they still can't ever replicate human eye for talent. So things like A&R, it's still going to be looking for data, it's still going to be looking for trends, but AI can't necessarily stand in the room and say, I don't know what it is, but that performing live, that artist performing live, they've just got something about them there, and that's something to work with, the actual emotional aspect. So I think with certain AI tools, it's also knowing how to use them, because it's all well and good just saying, okay, do me a release plan, but what's it basing it off? Are you basing it off of case studies you've seen in other successful release plans? Are you basing it off of other artist managers or other artists? So you do have to exercise in caution where you're not taking everything at face value, but obviously it's still an additional tool, because if it can save you an extra, couple of hours each week, what could you do with that extra couple of hours? At the same time, if it can help you upskill in a far quicker time, what could you do with that extra skill set? So I think it's one of those where not looking at it as this big bad enemy that's going to take over. It is scary, I guess, where you've got some AI music that is actually pretty good. But again, that's someone that's probably from a music background that knows how to make music that sounds a certain way. And obviously there's a lot happening in this space too, in terms of protecting vocal rights and acquisitions and partnerships with some of these platforms like Suno. But that's going to happen across every industry. It's not just limited to music. So I think it's a case of embracing something that is new and disruptive. That's happened before. There have been times where, streaming platforms, people have thought, shit, I'm never going to make, any money from music again because I can't sell CDs. People adapt or die. That's the way that I view it. You just kind of find your lane with it all.
I think a little part of it though becomes people become lazy with AI, and that's when mistakes start to happen. That's when you can tell that this isn't authentic. This isn't something that someone sat there and done. It's very different to how it used to be years ago. Production, for example, you'd see it'd be all analog. It was all analog. Everything was more or less analog. I've still got people that play keys and play a kick or a snare or a hi-hat, and they'll still play that because they love that sound. Doesn't mean that's right. It's also, and it doesn't make AI wrong. I just think you can become very lazy with AI and allow it to do everything for you, and it takes away. And again, I think I've used this word 3 or 4 times tonight. It's the passion that you've got in that music. When you lose that because you're too busy letting someone else or a computer do it for you, i.e. the AI, I feel like some musicians or some people will lose their way with that because they'll just allow that to be the sole purpose of how they're going to make music or how they're going to promote something. Or, I think use it to its abilities, to its advantages, but don't rely on it. Don't have it something that you can rely on.
Yeah, I think if you're using AI, just like, I only use it for emails. It's really great for emails because sometimes, like, my job has a lot of different branches, but it can be quite admin heavy depending on where you're at in the campaign. So it's really good. Gemini is great for emails. Yeah, that's my. Because the AI side in regards to music stuff is handled by business affairs and licensing teams, so I don't deal with that side.
That's why I'm keeping quiet.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's all we need. So let's have one final question, then we're going to open it up to the audience for some questions. So, like I said, you guys have been in the industry a long time. You've had lots of different roles, lots of different stages of your career. What would you say is a couple of pieces of bullet point advice that you would give to someone who would be starting their career now, whether that be in marketing, being an artist, being a manager, etc.?
I think 2 things for me that I can think of right now is just to network as much as you can. I know you hear it so many times, but majority of the jobs that I've had has been through someone I know. Like they've seen my work or I've met them in person and we've worked together, etc. So I think networking is super important. And I think secondly will be it's okay to pivot. So just let's say you're doing digital marketing now and you're not enjoying it and you end up pivoting to A&R or you want to do a different industry and it's not in music, it's okay to pivot. Yeah, that's my advice.
I think mine is be yourself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I'll use a terminology of years ago, vinyl. If you listen to someone playing vinyl, every now and then you're going to hear the needle's going to jump or someone's going to touch it a little bit and the vocal wobble a little bit. Whereas now you can press sync on a CDJ. And you're not going to hear, you probably won't even hear the transition. It's not always that authentic. And it's not always that great. So don't try and be this perfect version of what you believe or what you want to be. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Let people see that. Understand that we're not all perfect and that you're able to make these mistakes and still be good. Still get the job done. I think just keep enjoying it, allow people to see who you are. Just be genuine, really.
I'd say, as my mom would say, no look at nobody else. Like, don't look at anyone else's journey, yeah, because your journey, your path is yours. So don't be comparing yourself or what it is that you want to do to anyone else, because the way you can use AI is you can put in all of your skills in AI and be like, oh, can you suggest some ideas of jobs that, given these skills, would be great for me to start with. My friend did do this recently, and they are actually doing an internship in one of those things. So it does work. If you put in things that you genuinely like and you know you're genuinely good at, it can suggest, an AI agent can suggest which roles you could start with. Try them all. I tried a lot of different things. I've done tour managing, I've done events, I could DJ, there's a lot of different things I've done. And then I was like, but what do I really love? I like talking to people and I like helping. And that's what I do. So yeah, sometimes it takes a while to get there. Sometimes you need to make the mistakes to really understand, like, do you know what, that was not for me, and then just figure it out.
Yeah, so for me, it'd be a case of, if you're saying it, then do it. I've had that from like mates that are here that would just say, I'll be like, yeah, I think I should do this, or yeah, like, cool, wait till I do this. Do it then. Like, go do it. You said this last week. And when you've got people that hold you to account like that, it is good, because then when you do it, you do realise, like, right, why have I actually put this off? And then I think the other thing I would say would probably be focus on the controllables. Don't look at everything else. What can you do to change your situation? What can you do to move things forward? But at the same time, don't do that just because you feel like you need to. And we're talking about mental health, as you were saying before. Look at what's important, manage your time, your energy. Don't burn yourself out for the sake of it, because otherwise you are going to lose that love, lose that passion. And I think probably that's my final thing would be, remember your why. Why did you start making music? Why do you love making music? Because as soon as you lose that, that's where I think everything starts to hold. And that was the thing that will also be our guiding light in the future.
That's a perfect way to finish the question. So we'd like to say a big round of applause to the panel first. And we're going to open up the floor to some questions. So I hate for it to be like school, but if anyone just sticks their hand up, and we'll ask quite a lot already. And we'll bring the mic over to you to ask your question.
Hi, thanks, I've really talked. I think a key word that I've heard this evening is authenticity. So I've got a question for you, but I think mainly for Darrell, because you talked about working in the industry. And you're thinking for the conversation about having discussions or people being in it for the wrong reason. So how would you go about having those different conversations, especially because I think, for me personally, I feel DJing has become a lot, I don't say more popular, but I think it's become a bit more like, it's a lot more evident on social media that people want to be working DJing. So how do you have those conversations about kind of telling people to step away or kind of reconsider why they're in it?
I think DJing is one of those things where it's very easy for people to get into nowadays. You can go and pick up a controller for a couple of £100, you can really get into it, you can download music easily from anywhere, and you can get on with it. I think to have those discussions with someone isn't always something, I don't think it's necessarily something that someone should always have. I think people should be allowed to find that out themselves. But if I was to have a discussion, again, I think I'd ask the why. What's the reason? What's your influences in this? What made you get into DJing? Why are you doing it? What's your end goal? Where do you want to be? If someone's like, look, I know I'm rubbish, but I just like going home and playing music. Great, crack on, carry on. If it's, well, I want to be a superstar DJ, and in a year's time I want to be charging 500 or £5 for an hour set in an arena, I'd be like, mate, you want to slow down a little bit, like you're going to be under it here, you're going to have no, do you know what I mean? So I think it's just being realistic and just being open with everyone, really. Not everyone likes to hear the truth, unfortunately, but sometimes you just got to hold it out and admit it, really.
There's no system to this, I'm just kidding. Could you guys share the mics?
I'm not loud enough.
You are.
I'll shout.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for thank you for the panel. I thought it was really good, insightful. I just want to ask around the opportunity being there and stuff like that. I'm not from London, as you can probably guess. What would you say for like artists that are based outside of London, because so much of it happens here? you know, the reality is you can be quite a big artist in Manchester or Birmingham or Leeds or, you know, but then you've got a decision at some point where that's not always possible for people. People have got to up sticks and go somewhere or whatever. What would you say to that? Because, you know, you could be a big fish or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a real challenge, especially after COVID. COVID was a bit of a leveler because everything was happening online. But then now it's like reverted back to being quite London, major city centric.
This is why like social media is super powerful. Recently, a lot of my label, like the A&Rs, have been signing people who are out of London, not from London based, they're from Manchester, Birmingham, Sheffield even. So it's just like being active online, releasing music online. I think that for me, that I've seen that's work is super, super key. I don't think you necessarily have to live in London if I'm being honest.
Georgia Smith still lives around, like, bro, and H didn't leave Manchester. Like, they actually didn't. So I don't actually think it depends. Like, yeah, a lot of the labels are based here, but now a lot of them are moving up. BBC and One Extra did a solid. They have their studio in Brum now as well. Like, and I think most of I don't know percentage because I don't work for BBC, but a big percentage of their presenters are based up there now. So like that's happening. So making sure you're aware of who is where you are and capitalizing off of the opportunities that aren't attached to where you're geographically placed. And Trian, you can calm down. You can, yeah. When you need to come down to London, come down to London. And it, like for certain things you're gonna have to. But then, AG, the Mobos was in Manchester. Last year it was in Newcastle. The year before it was in Sheffield, I think. And so just maximizing those kind of opportunities as and when they come about, because they're few and far between, but they do happen, and that's your time when you're in Leeds, Sheffield, wherever, whole Yorkshire to shine.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, like, I'm someone that's probably spent more of my adult life up north. I literally lived in Manchester for 2.5 years, went to uni in Leeds, and they've got different music ecosystems. And when you are in Manchester, there's such a competition there. It's like the north versus the south. It's almost like Game of Thrones. They hate us. So when they're getting wins chalked up to them in terms of, right, they've got the Brits for the 50th anniversary next year as well. They've got the Mobos. You know, H is a breakthrough artist. He works with NQ Records. How many people do you know that are being priced out of London for the same reasons, not just making music because rent's high? Manchester, a lot of people migrating up there. BBC, you mentioned some really good presenters up there, like Victoria Jane used to have the Future Soul R&B show. And these people as well are so much more accessible in these cities. You'll see them walking around just in the city centre. If you go up to them and say, hey, I've seen your Instagram post, or I really love your show, they will talk to you if you've got an actual passion and interest. I think as well, you've got to look at music heritage as well. You know, some of the biggest bands, artists have come from Leeds, Sheffield, Liverpool. I mean, the Beatles, they weren't from fucking Croydon, were they, respectfully? So I think you've got to look at, where music moves. I mean, Sam Fender, again, from Newcastle, and there's big stadiums, there's big venues that've got heritage. Obviously, it's difficult in the live music scene. I know in Leeds, they've got some great venues like Broodnow Social Club, Hyde Park Book Club, and there you can find some really big artists for more accessible prices, but also before maybe they blow up. So I think the gist of it is there's a life outside London, and a lot of people are getting wise to that.
And just to add as well, because something just hit me. The Arts Council are like oversubscribed, like for a lot of their grants in London. So please take advantage. If you live out of London, if you have an outside of London postcode, you are more likely to be able to get grants for those kind of things. So make sure you are applying for those grants, those opportunities, because London people, say that to every one artist that's in North, there's like 1,000 in London. So 999 artists aren't being chosen in London, where you'll just be chosen because you're literally one of the few in North or wherever you are, Warwickshire, wherever those unis are. Yeah.
Next question.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, hi.
Feel like I recognise you from somewhere.
Yeah, you're pretty handsome actually. So it's a general question really, but like you guys are sort of, you sit in a position where you can offer a lot of advice and guidance to artists, and a lot of artists will be for a long time fame. And so is there a point where you'd have a conversation, probably a tough conversation about letting it go? You know, what sort of concepts would you look at an artist and go, maybe pivot, or maybe look at something else because it's for you? Have you found yourself in those positions, or is there a case where people can look,
So self-reflect and go, yeah, maybe you're right.
Choosing the easy questions, eh?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like expectation management, right? If you've got that agreement there that, look, I'm going to tell you honestly what I think. I don't feel like I would ever tell someone, you know, don't make music because you're not passionate about it, but you've got to be realistic with people. It's competitive. You know, you're not just competing with other artists, you're competing for attention span, and everyone's got a shorter attention span than ever before. You know, you're competing with reels, you're competing with long form content, you're competing with Netflix. So you've got to look at things in context. I think if there is an artist where you know that there are some things that aren't quite working, being genuine about, okay, this is what I would do if I was you. If you're serious about this, this is what you can do. But also being very clear that, you know, it does take a lot of hours. For some people, it might take 10,000 hours. Some people are naturally gifted, it might take 10 hours. But then for some people, it will take like 50,000 hours. So I think you've just got to know within yourself that, right, I'm prepared to have that hard conversation, be honest, as long as they're being honest with me, because I would expect that same thing. If I'm doing work for you and you're not happy with it, cool, tell me, how do we change it? Because if I don't know the situation, how can I change the situation? And vice versa. If you're just telling someone what they want to hear, you're wasting both of your time, respectfully.
Thank you.
Just in the left. Okay, so we've got someone left at the front here.
Anyone there?
Just down the way.
Alright. Did anyone else have their hands up? Oh wow, that's a lot. Okay. Do we have any more women who want questions apart from you?
Hi, thanks. Hi, I'm Violet, and I just wanted to circle back to you guys talking about socials. I also struggle a lot with the fact that, like, as an artist, I know that I have to put myself out there so that I can, like, find the people that will help me make the next steps, whether it be labels, managers, things. But I really hate the kind of disingenuous thing. Like, it makes me cringe so badly when I see other people do it, and I don't blame them, because we're all trying and we all have to do it. But, like, I feel like I want to tell my story, and I feel like I know what I want to say and who I want to speak to. I'm not exactly sure, and I wondered if you have any advice on, like, other artists that have told their story, like, through kind of specific structures of campaigns that works and is genuine, things like that.
I feel like it's mad that you said that, because, like, a lot of artists feel the way you do. Let me use Sky as an example. So she's the most comfortable when she's with her girls. So her girl is the one who films all the content. So you can see it authentically because they're both together. Do you get what I'm saying? I think it's just thinking about what makes you comfortable. In a studio, you could be recording yourself playing music and just leaving it there, or whoever your friend is, making sure that they're doing it. So I just think that you just got to think about where you feel the most comfortable. You don't necessarily have to be doing a video facing yourself. You don't need to do that. That would be my advice.
Elmine is an artist that I remember, like, when he started, well, he probably started posting content long before I saw this particular video, but he was just eyes closed, just singing. No pressure. He wasn't wearing anything. It wasn't like he was styled, he didn't have any style, it's just wearing whatever he was wearing, maybe house clothes, I don't know, just chill. Yeah. Just chill as hell, just super stripped back, just singing. So what do you like doing? Like, where do you, like, what is a comfort place for you to be you? Like, go there and just be you. Because with Sky, she likes singing on the road, being silly with her girls. So that's what she does. And then she made her own format with that. There's now other artists that like to copy that. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're going to see variations and copies, but what is true to you? I love sunsets, yeah? So when I'm most at peace when I'm like, I missed it today. But I'm most at peace when I've got a nice view of the sunset, you know, I feel calm, you know, no plans for the evening, just chilling with a nice sunset. That's where you're gonna capture me being like my true self, like just calm, relaxed. If that's the same for you, then find a sunset and start singing, start rapping, whatever type of music you make, start playing. That's what you do. I know some people like to be in like a certain type of studio. Who is it? One of the artists I work with, I'm trying to forget. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I've just forgotten. They struggle to make music outside of their house, so they don't make music. They don't make music outside of their house. Their label will pay for studio time. They're like, you know what? I went Abbey Road.
Do you know what I'm saying? They were just uncomfortable. They like recording in their house. They can record themselves comfortable. They'll grab a bed. Oh, it's Finn Askew. It was Finn Askew. Yeah, he likes to make music in his house. He said, it just doesn't sound the same when I go to the studio because he's not as comfortable. So just go where you're comfortable and yeah.
Even like Crystal, does everyone know Crystal? Like, she doesn't film a lot of content and like she got signed purely because of her vocals. Majority of the time she's in the studio with her producer creating music and that's the content that seems to work. So I just think always just be like true to yourself. Like, forget about social media for a minute. Like, what do you resonate? Where do you feel most comfortable? And I'm telling you, that'll probably be the best content.
I was going to say as well, use other people that are doing the content themselves. You know, I think if you look at Timberland, where he does his live sessions where he'll review his music on like Instagram feeds, and then obviously if you're capturing that as a moment, you know, he's giving you compliments on your music, you're recording that, cool, that's your content. So there's also the curators that will say, you know, you like Sade, well here's X amount of artists, and everyone likes Sade, so you're going to listen. So when you've got those kind of curators, ask them the question, like, would you put that? Because that's a different form of content. Not everything has to have your face in it. You know, there's a lot of people that make really successful careers from faceless content. And it's just finding what is right for you, not just in terms of the wares, but also comfortable to actually create.
I do think that what comes with that as well is that being that comfortable, and it comes over time as well.
I think it takes a little bit of time to become comfortable, sometimes with yourself and what it is that you're doing and what you're trying to show and portray. So you can record 1,000 videos if you want. You might only like one of them. But there's that one video out of 1,000 that you like. You think, okay, I can do that. That one's gone and done. You put that out. It's got a good reaction. Maybe it hasn't. Whatever. But you're comfortable with it. There might be another 2,000 videos after that, and you only like one out of them. But great, you've got another one. You don't have to post everything. People feel they have to post everything all the time. Going to the toilet, cooking the food, like, you know, changing the cap. Oh, what about? Come and have a day with me. Come spend a day with me. I don't care. You're wearing the same. All you're doing is changing your gym gear, but you're doing the same thing every day. I don't want to watch what you're doing every day. I don't want to watch you in the gym doing glutes. I don't want to see you baking your protein oats in the morning. That's not where I'm at. But, you know, something that you're doing that you want to put out there that's different, and you're just allowing yourself to be, you know, just feeling natural, just in your happy place. And there might be one thing that you like, the rest you might not. Who knows?
Thank you.
Do we have more time?
Who's next, guys? We can just see anyone on this. Yeah.
Where the ladies at? Hi.
Hi.
And well done to all of you, by the way. I have a quick question. So we kind of shed a little light on what happened regarding Kanye West and the festival. From my point of view, it could come down to, what's that word? People create obstacles for you. It might not be because you're not doing what they want, you're not publicizing what they want, they hinder you in some light, or they stop you from making money and putting food on the table. So when it comes to, what do they call it, something gating? Gatekeeping, that's the word. When it comes to gatekeeping, what would you advise for artists to do? Because the industry is so huge and it's so run by the same people. What would you advise for them to do to get out of that? Would you advise for them to like have their own miniature avenues or to create their own lanes? Because it's really hard for a lot of people, and a lot of people have to pretend to be a part of other lanes just to succeed or to feed their families. So what would you advise new artists that do not want to succumb to feeding or pretending to be a part of a certain system that they don't believe in?
I think, unfortunately, there are some obstacles that you just simply can't get over. However, as you've mentioned yourself, there's other roads that you can take. You don't necessarily have to climb a wall all the time. It doesn't have to be that difficult that you have to climb the wall. There's going to be obstacles that are going to be put in front of you every single day of your life, no matter whether it's in the music industry, whether it's your work, your home life, whatever it is. There's other ways around it. Sometimes the powers that be will do everything they can to gatekeep, to put an obstacle in your way, and to stop you from getting where you need to get to. Should that stop you? Not really. Will it stop you in gym? Probably not. I mean, it's just having to get up and go to try and find another way. It's not always easy. But again, what is in life, I guess.
Something can only be gate kept if you don't own it. So how about making, taking control of, I guess, your audience? So understanding your data is important as an artist to understand what that data can show you. Like, where are your fans? Like with Kanye, listen, he's not missing no meals. Like, wireless or not, he's still on tour, right? So he can do that because of the level he's at. But there's other artists, like, they might not get booked for wireless, but they can get booked for other festivals. They might be able to get booked for Across the Tracks. They might be able to do their own festival. Didn't Skep to do what Mass Tiempo and everything. Like, that's a whole different side of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you build your own system, like how DJ AG has, like how Mac 10 has, you don't need to rely on these brands. You don't need to rely on these other systems that you have zero control over. You're waiting, pick me, I want to be part of that, but really pick yourself, because you could actually create the opportunity for yourself in your own way. I'm not saying you can create some people can and have, like J. Cole with Dreamville Fest, and that took him a long time to even get there. So just understanding how long it could take to get to something like that. Don't be expecting that, off the rip. But build it. It's a process. You built up to 8,000 people. You said it's not that much. I'm like, 8,000 people come to, so you sell out 8,000 people and there's no headliners or whatever. That's massive. What? Like, that's crazy to me, because I don't see 8,000 people just there with no artists. Like, what? That is insane numbers. So it might not be wireless 50,000 people in Crystal Palace Park, but those 1,000 people, they're there for you. And like they mess with you. So capitalize off those opportunities and try to make more of those opportunities for yourself. And then you ain't gotta be like worried about the gatekeepers that are trying to block you from these opportunities, because you're creating your own opportunities. They do take time. I'm not gonna lie, they say they don't, but it's worthwhile, and you get all the money too.
Okay, we're going to do one last question, but the panelists will be around to mix in and answer any questions you have. So we can pick the lucky final one. The guy's put his hand up. It's a horse, man, over there. Oh, we're going to
It's all right. My question is, how would you go about promoting an artist whose appeal is mystery and scarcity in today's environment where visibility is more important? Did you catch? How would you go about promoting an artist whose appeal is mystery and scarcity in today's environment? That's a good question.
Well, there's like SD Kid. Is he Timothy Chalamet or not? Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, whoa, to maximize off that mystique, really. Like, people don't need to know what you look like. Like you said, there could be faceless content. There could be other things that you're doing. Like, what else is interesting? Do you like clothes? Like, find something that is true to you, that you connect with, and then, I guess, promote those kind of things alongside the music. So, I'm going to show my fit, but the music's in the back and you never see someone's face. There's so many people. What's like the fourth
There's so many creative artists that actually cover their face and then release music, and it's getting numbers and it's getting streams. So I think it goes back to the conversation we've had in general, like, you just need to be authentically yourself. Like, if you feel like you don't want to put your face in a video, but there's something else that you're more passionate about, then do what you've got to do. I think if it's authentically yourself, when you hear it, the audience usually connect with it.
Yeah, there was an artist I remember we worked with, previous PR agency, DJ, and former Premier League footballer, and that was the angle. And obviously everyone's speculating, people getting in the comments like, oh, I know who this is, oh, listen to the voice, bro, it's definitely this person. Oh no, if you look at the timelines. So people actually start going on this kind of adventure quest, the same way they do with Leslie the Kid. And like, you can probably gauge, and I'm not going to say I know his identity, but also that's not even important. His identity is built around that mystery, that scarcity that you're saying. He's got like a jeweled mask, and again, he's still getting brand collaborations from that. People are streaming his music because people are trying to work out now what Premier League footballer is supposedly making music. Is it going to sound good? Is this just a side hobby, or actually is this someone that is actually serious?
It's actually the same. It's across many scenes.
In the Guam scene, for example, Teddy Rockshot. Like, it was covered in fashion. We know who he is now. And then you've got the house scene. There was someone who's been doing it for years. I mean, I think obviously social media was about it. It was probably MySpace days when they started doing it with Deadness. Just a big mask sort of thing that they had on. It was a mouse. No one knew what it looked like.
Marshmallow as well.
Marshmallow, yeah, exactly.
Dark Punk. There's so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, quite a lot, to be honest. So you just kind of just got to do what you're actually passionate about.
All right. Thank you very much for the questions, everybody. Let's have a round of applause for our panelists, please.
Can we also say thank you to the various sponsors for bringing this event together?
So we're going to open it to the floor. Everyone going, want everyone to mingle, everyone to network. Yeah, feel free to come talk to everyone, whether that's the radio station, XT Radio, the panelists, etc. Thank you very much for coming, guys. Appreciate it.